Hey guys, you know those writers who kind of ruined your Dragon Show ending? And do you know that director that kind of ruined that Laser Sword movie you guys liked? Well, guess what? They're both coming together to make a cinematic universe of Star Wars. Let's make sense of that.
Take that.
Alright, we're here. What's up, guys?
Oh, God.
I had to say something because everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Oh, God.
What's your name? What's your name?
Hey, my name's Manuel, and I'm with,
I'm Ted.
I'm Josh.
and this is Nerds Make Sense.
Oh my God.
Alright, so like,
Or is it Sense Make Nerds?
I don't know. I just know.
I mean, if we're going Yoda.
Welcome back to Sense for Nerds.
All I know is I'm handsome now. Anyways, so like I was mentioned
So
by
does that make me the smart one?
Wait, who are you?
who are you?
Oh, okay. I'm the one that nobody cares about.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah. Oops, I hit my mic. But anyways, so don't break this started. All right, so Ryan Johnson, the director of
The Last
Jedi, and the last time I'll watch a Star Wars movie, probably.
The last time I watched Star Wars.
And the writers of Game of Thrones, who kind of already did something.
Yeah, okay. In some people's opinion, they messed it up. Not everyone.
In a majority
Yes.
opinion.
No, in a majority
Just
of
like a
people
majority
who have
of
said anything.
people who said The Last Jedi was bad, and the
No,
majority
not-
of people who don't like the ending to Game of Thrones. They're coming together to make a love child of Star Wars to make a cinematic universe.
Just because you're loud doesn't automatically make you another
I'm gonna say
majority.
the three opinions are of the Game of Thrones finale was it was okay, it was good, and it sucked.
Yeah, there you go.
About 50% people, I will say, think it sucked. About 30% think it was okay, and about 20% think it was good.
I think you're off on your estimates on
I
that one.
think
Bro,
that's a pretty
you
round number.
Just because somebody is loud on the internet does not mean they are the mass majority or they speak for the mass
Well,
majority.
I don't know about loud, but the comments don't speak, so they're not loud at all. They're silent, and those are the ones I read. So, if you go to Star Wars Theory, which is your favorite guy, right? If you go to the video where he broke this news, if you read the comments of him being positive, you can go to the comment section. That the whole comment section is negative, because that is not a good thing to happen. Because The Last Jedi was already half and split.
It was already divisive.
It was, it divided a lot. It kind of messed me up because I didn't like how it went. And then I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I know, like I told Manuel, I know that it was a good show in a sense. But when I have people, and Manuel too as well, when I have people and family members who watched it religiously go on Facebook and social media and saying that it was a horrible season.
Because everybody wanted John to turn out to be the king, and he didn't. And I am totally okay with that. That is the reason.
But the reason is
John and Daenerys to become king and queen, and they wanted John to ascend to his rightful place as the true king.
All right, let's stay on topic. Anyway,
And they're not happy that
on.
Daenerys died,
Hold on.
and that John went back to the Night Watch.
Yeah.
That is the only reason
Nope.
they are not happy with the way it ended.
No, people are unhappy because the finale was written poorly. It did not add with any of the characterization that George R. R. Martin gave us. It went against a lot of it. It was for shock value.
You know what? He should have fucking hurried up and finished the books. He should have hurried up
Wait a minute.
and finished the fucking books.
Wait a minute. Didn't I say that when we talked about it and Josh said, what was he supposed to do? I'm pretty sure I said that. Because I was like, because you were like, what was he supposed to do? Wait, I was like, yes, why couldn't he wait? He was like, so you just want him to delay the whole thing. So what's that?
No, I'm saying because of when they started it. And
This is a Star Wars
because of
episode, by the way.
This is a Star Wars
Yeah,
episode.
I know. We're going to get to that.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to make an episode about Game of Thrones specifically.
Yeah, I'm not.
This would just be it, the whole episode.
This is the closest you're going to get,
No,
guys.
because of when they chose to start Game of Thrones, though, and because of how quickly they got through the provided material,
Yep.
they had no choice but to continue because they could not sit there and wait for George R. R. Martin to spend the next 10 years finishing the last 2 books just so they can make their ending.
Yep. So for Game of Thrones, I'm going to tell you guys, Game of Thrones is kind of a quote-unquote normie show. It's very popular. A lot of regular people like it. For those weebs out there, the basic concept of what just happened here, the anime caught up with the manga and the anime sucked. You guys are very familiar with this as a concept.
Exactly.
Stay tuned for Game of Thrones Brotherhood, where they fix everything. It's gonna be great.
That's how it came about.
I promise. But so regardless of our opinions on these things, the Last Jedi and Game of Thrones, the thing we can say for a fact is both of these things were divisive among their fan base. They split the fan base into very wide margins of rivaling factions, I'd say. So having those people be in charge of a full cinematic universe, they are putting in the final creative input for every piece of this universe, I feel like is a bad move.
I think it's a bad move in general for like Star Wars because, like I told you, Star Wars is more just like a singular story. Like if stuff happens beforehand, I guess that's cool. Like the prequels obviously explain some, but like I never, because like we spoke about it before in a I don't know what episode we did, that Marvel started off this cinematic thing, and then you got the monsters universe with Godzilla and everything. You got the horror universe with Annabelle and
That's the Conjuring verse.
The Conjuring verse.
Controverse.
Yeah. You have all this other stuff going on.
There was the dark verse that failed.
Yeah.
With the Mummy.
Yeah.
And Dracula.
So you have all that, and now everyone thinks it's a good idea to just start doing that because why not? You know, it works with them. But I feel like if you're good with what you have, you should just stick with it.
And to be honest, like saying this as a declaration, it felt like a move to grab publicity because they were already kind of doing it by releasing a mainline film and then like a side film. You know, so it was already like we already had like this connected universe of movies. Of course, they like so Solo from Solo, Han Solo is in the regular Star Wars movies. The Rebel One leads up to Episode 4. Just that stuff, and like so we already had that. We already had it, and so declaring it as a cinematic universe now seems just like another ploy to get attention. And honestly, I think the move is financially, it doesn't matter what they do. It really doesn't. People are going to line up to watch a Star Wars movie regardless if they think it's going to suck or not. You know, because people lined up to see all of the prequels even after seeing the first one. You know, they were hype. Well, they lined up to see episode 7 even after the prequels happened. Yeah. They had faith. It doesn't matter if Star Wars is tied to the title. People are gonna watch it. It doesn't matter. So it really from a financial standpoint, it doesn't matter who they put in charge. It's gonna sell. From a creative standpoint, people are gonna be upset because it whatever they put out is gonna be divisive again. It's gonna have a lot of people unhappy, some people really happy, and then a pretty good portion of people who just really don't care because it's just Star Wars. They're like, yeah, I saw a Star Wars. It had a gun and a laser sword. I'm happy. And that's fine if that's how you want to see movies. I see a lot of movies like that. Like I watch Transformers like that. I'm like, I go to Transformers and I'm like, it had a robot. I like it.
I like it.
Yep. I'm like, that's it. I wasn't searching for deep meaning in this movie. But for a lot of fans of this series, it has deep meaning to them. You know. Yeah,
you know, it's kind of the. I often compare probably the 2 biggest science fiction franchises, which one being Star Wars, 2 being Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know, because for a lot of people, it's you were either a young adult or you were a teenager or a kid who grew up with these things, and so it is ingrained in your being. It is part of who you are. So naturally, yeah.
And because it is kind of the natural order of things to be hype about a Star Wars movie. The first one came out, and everybody fucking loved it. And so when the sequels to it came out, people were like, yes, I'm going to see it. I love the Star Wars. Like, and it just never stopped being that.
Yeah.
Like, they never stopped being hype as fuck for Star Wars. That's like a cultural, like, part of our DNA now is be hype for a Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then the thing you got to go about it is, like, I've seen people talk about this, and they're like, so, like, with Star Wars going on right now, with how split it is and everything, like, I was telling Manuel, because Manuel's idea was, like, if they are going to do a cinematic universe, do it somewhere farther than the farthest galaxy this is taking place before, and just do it with people and set up stuff back then that has no connection to people now. Because I feel like, I told Manuel with the cinematic universe, I was like, what? Because the thing, it said in the article that they want to do a whole cinematic universe to where it'll finally pay off in one Infinity War Endgame thing. But I'm like, who are they going to fucking bring to that?
Yeah, like, who?
Everyone's setup is, okay, so Rogue One, everyone's dead. Solo, Han Solo's dead. The little end credit thing with Darth Maul, he's dead. Who fucking... With all the main storyline, Luke is gone, Leia's gone.
But here's the thing: they may not be trying to set up a cinematic universe with who's already there.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe the announcement of a cinematic universe, maybe they're going to set up characters to become part of a new cinematic universe existing within the Star Wars universe, and setting them up to come together
because
in an Infinity War Endgame.
Because the only reason that Marvel did it so well is because these are characters we're already familiar with. And so every time you see another one pop up, and then you see them together, you're like, oh, I like this guy, and I like this guy, and now they're together. Because you're already familiar. So you're even for the people who aren't super familiar with these characters, they know, like, on a like a very general basic knowledge of these people that, oh, they're a superhero, or this is their thing, you know. And so it's easy for them to get into it. Yeah. And then to act like they've known these characters this whole time. It's super easy. And I'm not gonna shit talk people who are only like MCU nerds and not like comic nerds or whatever, because I'm kind of a middle ground to BH, like, so I can't, like, both people are valid is what I'll say. So so if they try to set up new characters in the same way, it's gonna fail. It's gonna bomb. Like, people aren't gonna care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I already feel like, cause I know, like, people were comparing, like, I forgot what video I was watching, and they were talking about Marvel and Star Wars. And like, I feel like the Marvel, like, you know, comic book, even DC, even though the trouble they're having, like, Marvel itself is like the new Star Wars, how it was back then. You know, there would be conventions for Star Wars and stuff. Now you have, like, people still dress up in Star Wars stuff, but, like, it's that new thing. Like, you don't really have to understand to go into it, like you said. But with Star Wars, there's, like, a lot of old timey stuff you have to get into. Like,
there's a lot of fringe stuff that not everybody has access to.
Yeah, you can go.
It's not easily accessible. But while Marvel has made multiple attempts to make their content accessible, and the movies are just another one.
Yeah. And, like, you can go into, like, Iron Man and not know anything about Iron Man and come out knowing something, and then you can go into, like, Star Wars and then you'll need, like, a brief explanation of, like, something else. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's why I feel like it's just like making a cinematic universe, and like Josh said, they could do something new, but like, I don't. Like, why do it, like, now? I mean, I guess they could try to do it now, because I guess even if it is divided, and like Josh said, like, even if you're allowed on the internet, it's still like negative feedback for their movie. Yeah. And so if
the thing about negative feedback, and there's an age old saying now, is there's no such thing as bad publicity. And it rings truer now than it ever has before, because even if something sucks, the fact that people talk about it
is going to direct people to see what they're talking about.
Exactly. It's going to lead you there. So it really doesn't matter how bad these things are. People will still see them. It goes to show with, like, all the new Adam Sandler movies that were still happening. I think he's done now.
No, there's a new one on Netflix.
Oh, fuck.
I'm about to watch it.
None of them have been, like, any good. Like, I'm not going to say his old movies were, like...
The Cobbler was good.
That's a statement to make right there. I haven't.
I enjoyed it.
That's a statement that you can stand by as much as you want.
I thought it was the first decent Adam Sandler movie in a while, probably since the first Grown Ups.
Okay.
All
So
right.
we're just saying anything now.
This is the guy who liked The Last Jedi, guys.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So that's a different topic.
And here's
We'll
the thing.
we'll make an episode about Adam
even
Sandler.
though, and I said this before in our very unwatched part 2 of our Star Wars special, that even though I enjoyed The Last Jedi, I did notice things wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't go in and come out of the movie completely blind to what was wrong with it. Mm-hmm. And even, the second and third time I've watched it, I do see things that probably could have been done differently or shouldn't have been done at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I was left with a good movie experience.
Yeah. So I think that's just where we differ. Because in my opinion, Click was the last good Adam Sandler movie. But I'm more critical of Star Wars because I expect more from.
Yeah,
Star Wars. I think you're just more accepting of Star Wars content because I'll say you probably just honestly enjoy Star Wars more. But my relationship with Star Wars it does mean a lot to me. But I expect more from it, especially after what I've put into it. You know what I mean? Because I view it as a relationship, and of course it's going to sound like the old College Humor sketch where they go to therapy with the franchise that they're in love with. You know what I mean? But that's how I feel it. I feel like I put in a lot of time, I put a lot of energy to trying to enjoy this thing, and then what it gave to me in The Last Jedi wasn't what I expected. It wasn't what was promised to me. And it feels like a little bit of a betrayal. And so something I hear a lot of people say when they talk about criticizing stuff that they're supposed to like is like I'm upset, I'm booing because I want to cheer. I want to be happy with this, but I'm not. And so that's just where the line is. I am with this. And so when I hear that this is the man who's going to run everything, it makes me a little skeptical. But what I think would be a good move, and I don't know, because we honestly don't know what their plans are, just besides the fact that they want their own endgame scenario, is I don't know how the hell they'll do that, because we've already had episode 3 and episode 6, and then we're gonna have episode 9, and they're all these culmination of things happening, because each of the Star Wars movies had all these different conflicts happening and culminating into one final meeting of villain and protagonist and whatever. Right. And it pays off, and it's over.
Look how long it took for Endgame. How many was it?
There's so much.
Yeah, and so
20 movies or something.
How would you want to survive that much movies with?
But there's no guarantee that even if it is that many movies, there's no guarantee that it's going to take that long, because unlike here's the thing about doing something once, you may not be able to do it better the second time, but you can probably do it a little faster.
And then look at the directors for all these movies. It's been majority the same ones, except for a couple of movies, and they've been watched over by the same people. And then you have these people with this, and
I think they just picked the wrong people, because Kevin Feige was familiar with Marvel as comics, and just as a media in general, so he was a good voice to have leading the overall production of these things, of a cinematic universe concerning these characters. Because for the most part, there are a few discrepancies. There are some things I don't agree with as a whole in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for the most part, they were true to character. They, the parts that weren't were well needed additions or revises of these characters that we know and love, and they add something fresh, So overall, it did well. And that's almost everyone's opinion. Some people are, completely against the actor choices or whatever, and that's fine. They have their own ties to this character and how they perceive them. That's okay. But for the most part, they came out well, and most people are pleased with them. But with those guys, for one, the source material has come from George Lucas, and we already know that George Lucas can't even be trusted with this material anymore. So we're really at a loss as to who we can give these things to. But even then, I feel like they weren't the right people. I know J.J. Abrams probably doesn't want to be solely in charge of something like this, because he's trying to make his own little cinematic universe going on, and I love J.J. Abrams. I love you, but I honestly don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like I like Cloverfield. I like Cloverfield 10 Cloverfield Lane. I haven't seen Cloverfield Paradox, so I don't know. I don't know if they should be together and fit together as one movie experience. So that's a topic for another day.
Okay. So I will say this about Cloverfield Paradox: it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's also not the worst.
Okay.
Well, I like that.
So
that's fair.
That's good.
I haven't seen it yet. I've been kind of dreading watching it because I just don't know what to make of the concept.
It's watchable.
As a whole. Yeah.
But it's nothing special.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it feels like it kind of almost feels like the fact that it's connected to the Cloverfield universe was slapped in at the last minute almost.
I believe that. I absolutely believe that.
Almost like what they were going to do with that one.
Well, Cloverfield Lane was kind of the same way too.
Yeah, but I could see how that would have fit a little bit more given what happened in the first movie.
Well,
I could kind of see it as a
you,
natural progression.
Well, if you look at Cloverfield Lane up until the very end of the movie, it wouldn't have related to the first movie in any real way.
Right? No, I understand.
So that one does feel kind of shoehorned. Anyway, like I said, that's a topic for another episode.
But it was such a good movie that it was almost like the fact that they ended up connecting it in the end didn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, so and that's something I'm worried about too. I'm worried about some just like them giving us a story and then somehow at the very end of a story in whatever movie they kind of try and just shoehorn it into like a main plot line. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not a fan of, and I'm just not sure where they could put it. So my two ideas are either way in the past, like Old Republic style stuff, because that's stuff I'm interested in. I don't know a lot about it, but I see people talk about it, and from the talk that I see, it seems like a very interesting period in Star Wars history.
And the thing
that should be
with
explored.
that too, the canon for it has already been kind of. I don't know. I don't know if they've discounted what has been told in the MMO.
Yeah.
If that's part of the Legends now, or if it's still a part of the official canon.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Part of the things I'm talking about is that there's such a crazy barrier to entry now that even if you were part of the fringe back in the day where you were reading some of the comics or the books, whatever, that stuff's not canon now. A lot of it is.
And here's the thing too. From recently, I read something that said basically anything that comes before Episode 6 is considered canon now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, does that mean the game is now canon again? Does that mean everything that happened in the books that are written between Episode 1 and Episode 6 are all canon again?
Yeah. So it's such a weird area because for Star Wars, their central story universe is what they're trying to build upon still.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for where Marvel is, where Marvel's like, well, we're going to create a new entry point for people. It's like, it's a brand new universe.
Right.
You don't need to know anything else. You're going to learn all of the necessary things. If you were a fan before, we will make references to things you know already. Like, you'll see things coming before other people do, but it's not necessary to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And so Star Wars isn't going to have that unless they do one of those two things, where they either go super forward into the future, where the things like the main line of films don't matter, or super far into the past, where that stuff hasn't happened yet, and it's not gonna affect the story in any way.
Right.
And so those are the two options I see for building a new thing.
And I think the biggest problem that this not only with obviously the divisiveness of the people they've hired to create the cinematic universe, but I think one of the biggest problems with trying to create this cinematic universe is that the fact that Star Wars has essentially been focused on the Skywalker lineage for so long.
Exactly.
For so long, to try and establish something away from that is going to be difficult for people to grasp.
And that's a fault on their part too for making Skywalker synonymous with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because there could have been so much other stuff that they could have focused on.
I mean, they tried to branch it out a little bit with the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas, he tried to establish more with the prequels, with
But
bringing
it's
in
still-
the Jedi more,
it's-
bringing in the politics of the Old Republic.
It's still focused on Anakin.
It's still
though.
it's still focused
Mr.
largely on
Skywalker.
Anakin.
And so, yeah, so it's just going to be difficult. And another thing is, they have 3 people leading this, and not just one.
Mm.
So that's going to create so much conflict, I think. I don't know about the 2 directors from Game of Thrones. They've already worked together.
Yeah.
But now there's 3 people at this table. 3 people who have to make decisions for a whole thing. And I don't know if they're going to, like, split it off into sections, like, well, you handle this bit, and then they handle this bit, or something like that. Or if they're all going to be, like, looking over the shoulder of each other, like, trying to correct each other. I feel like that's also just another, like, way to screw it up, to ruin it.
Yeah.
It's
And I think-
too many cooks.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Johnson's statement that he made after, once the big controversy of Episode 8 came out, he made the statement that he was going into the movie trying to make it as divisive as possible, and I think that was just a bad way to look at a Star Wars movie.
Exactly, because Star Wars is like a classic thing. So you want
people to unify under
yeah,
it.
exactly. If this was like a new IP, if it was a new concept, he's like, I want to make a movie that is a topic of discussion. You do something with that, your own brand, your own IP, your own idea. That's when you do that way.
And I think it was too far out in left field to what J.J. Abrams tried to establish with Force Awakens.
And then so in that sense, because the writers for Game of Thrones did something similar, is that they tried to make like a drastic twist. That's why most people are upset. Is that
and here's the thing too.
It felt too
because
drastic.
I know some people are saying that the whole twist of Dany at the end, torching King's Landing in the second to last episode was like something out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No, even Emilia Clarke, who plays Daenerys Targaryen, said that was eventually where she was going. It was rushed, and I'll agree with that. A lot of things, especially the last 3 episodes, a lot of things felt rushed.
And see, that's probably where
And
I'll give that to you. Is that the ending isn't necessarily terrible? It's just that they didn't put in the effort. Which is the problem that DC movies have, is that they jump to like specific points in where Marvel is without putting in the work Marvel.
I don't know if it's that they didn't put in enough effort. I do blame part of it on them, but like I said earlier, I also blame George R.R. Martin too. Mind you, like I said at the very beginning, it was probably a mistake starting the series before George R.R. Martin finished the series.
Because this is entirely on HBO. Because the first book came out in, 1990 something?
Yeah.
The second book came out, 4 years later?
Yeah.
The next book,
But each book essentially
later.
increased in time in between them.
Exactly.
I think there was, I think it was only the last 2 books that were released that were actually the closest to one another.
Yeah, so...
Because he was working on them both at the same time, much like he's doing the current 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly he's close to finishing, what is it, the 6th book or 5th book?
Mm-hmm.
And he's already started the last book. But we're still waiting, obviously, for that book.
But if you knew the pace at which these things are coming out, and you're like, well, we're giving you this much time, and them expecting it to be out already, is entirely on them, because this is what most companies do. They worry about the money first and the creativity second. There was a quote I read from the people at Disney when they were making, I don't know if it was during the making of Aladdin or something. It's just a book that was about the making of Aladdin and their whole deal with Genie. What's his name?
Will Smith?
No.
Oh, Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. So the first Aladdin, and how Robin Williams had their whole beef and whatever, because Robin Williams didn't want to be part of the marketing for this movie, because he didn't want to be like the movie's brand. He wanted the movie to stand on itself. But anyway, so there was a quote that one of the people who were the head of Disney were saying, like, we don't make art, we don't make history, we don't make statements. They're like, but what we do want to make is money. And while trying to make money, sometimes you make art or history or a statement. And that's just how most people view making shows or making movies, making anything, is that they're in for the money first, creativity second. That's like the bottom line, and that's just what happened here. It's unfortunate, but it happens to everything. Everything has this, like almost everything creative has this as a problem, whether it's shows get canceled too early because they weren't bringing enough money or whatever reason, or shows don't get picked up like they should, and so you just end up with a pilot for a show that's really cool that never gets taken anywhere, and that always happens. One of my favorite things that I'm sad that hasn't gone anywhere is Tron. We got a Tron sequel and then a Tron series, and then the series ended on a cliffhanger. That movie ended on like a pseudo cliffhanger, and then nothing came of it. And I'm just sitting here like crying, you know.
And I hear the like somewhere in the back rooms of the Disney development teams, there is a potential reboot for the franchise,
which I don't want.
No, I think I liked Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
I know why most people don't like it. I understand it, but as far as I like Tron because it had laser lights and computer things and it was really actiony and cool, and Tron Legacy was that. It was just as cool, just as actiony, just as bright. Like they brought the design into a nice space, and that was cool. And one thing I'll say about Tron fans is that they are so much more optimistic than every other fan base I've ever seen. Every time Disney's like, we have an unnamed live action project in the works, and everybody's like, Tron 3? Tron 3? Is it Tron 3? Every time. Like everybody's like, oh, well, they're doing all these live action remakes now. Tron. New Tron. They have to. Tron. I'm like, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just not gonna happen at this point. I don't think so. But yeah. What is this episode even about? The cinematic universe.
The failings of humanity.
yeah. We're just screwing everything up. On the subject of cinematic universes and Disney, do you guys think my theory for these live action Disney things is that that's gonna lead into a cinematic universe?
Yeah,
I hope to
almost
God,
like Kingdom Hearts.
I hope to God it does. And Disney's already done something like this. They did, what's that show? The live action show on like ABC or whatever. What is it? Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they've already done it. They've done it twice now. Because when my friend told me about Once Upon a Time, they're like, oh yeah, so they all live in like are all from different worlds or the same world or whatever, and they come together. I'm like, so it's Kingdom Hearts. It's a show about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Sort of, but not really.
And like, it's like, yeah, without all the Final Fantasy angst. I'm like, oh well, then I don't care.
Yeah, that's what I thought the live action stuff was going to. Is Kingdom Hearts.
I just don't know. I'm just so tired of cinematic universes now. We only needed one.
Yeah.
And now it's just played out because now everybody wants to do it.
Right.
Everybody wants these movies to connect. And like, there used to be things in old movies where there were references to like other things the director did or other things by the same author who wrote the book for this movie or small nods like that, you know? But then as soon as Iron Man showed up in Hulk, I think it was the first time we saw something, or we saw Cap's shield in Iron Man 2 or whatever, and people just fucking lost it, and they're like, and this is just what we and because it became a very real thing that people could do, you know, they're like, so people were just like, why the fuck can't we do it? Why not? You know, and so now everybody wants to fucking do it. Everybody. It's just tiring. I'm just so tired.
I'm tired right now.
I just drank 2 cups of coffee, and I'm so fucking tired thinking about this.
But here's the thing too. This could be a potential way to redeem the Star Wars franchise.
They could redeem these directors as well.
Yeah, and they could be going into it looking at that, and I hope not. You know, I'm hoping that they come up with some original ideas that are at least respectable by the fans.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think their best bet is to not touch the things that we already know, like the main line.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
and I completely agree. It has to be either something far in the past and not necessarily to set up what we already know, but maybe establish a little bit, flesh out the lore a little more, or just go so far in the future that you can just fucking do anything with it.
Yeah, because then
and get away with it.
Yeah, because then rules change, people change, the whole system as a whole will change, people's understanding of things in the world will change, you know, and so we'll still have like our connection to this universe is like, okay, so we know like a baseline of some stuff like the Force, Jedi, some of that stuff, and we don't necessarily need all those things for this to work, but of course there should be at least some elements in here to keep, you know, the old fans interested.
Yeah.
You know, so that would just be a good move, you know, but
like maybe you could make subtle references to certain things.
Yeah.
That were either established in what we already know, like the movies or even some of the shows, or you know certain characters. Like obviously, if you go back in the past, you could potentially bring in Yoda's race.
Absolutely.
You know, because we only see 2 throughout all 8 movies of the Skywalker saga.
I had to look for the second one.
She's only in a brief
exactly
shot in episode 1.
Yeah, and so it was her, and then the ETs in like episode 2 or something. That was like when I heard, I was like, no. So I had to like stop it, like pause. Like I had to like I was looking for them, and I don't know. That was just fucking stupid. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, like stuff like that, stuff that because then if you go far back enough, you can introduce any kind of element, and then the reasoning behind them not being around anymore is that they were wiped out by something. Yeah. You know.
The funny thing is too, I mentioned the MMO Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah.
Yoda's race isn't even there.
Damn.
Not a single one.
Fuck.
Or at least not that I remember.
I don't know either.
Which is weird because you think if you go far back, even if Yoda and what was her name, Yaddle or something like that.
Yaddle.
I
think it was Yaddle.
Were even if you assume that they were maybe the last 2 of their race, or some of the last members of their race because they died out. You think if you go back far enough, you'd see more of them at some point. Unless they're just that fucking old, because I mean Yoda.
Did we talk about the one Jedi that can fuck? Did we talk about him?
Well, and that's something that the Old Republic actually establishes a little bit more. Is Jedi were allowed to have
children,
sexual relations.
Okay.
They just couldn't develop attachment.
Yeah, so like men today.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn.
Damn. The whole thing about the thing about them not being able to have a sexual partner is bull. They are allowed to have sex. They're allowed to essentially pleasure themselves. They just can't form attachment.
Okay.
That's the one thing that has been banned by the Jedi basically ever since Revan did his fucking side flopping shit.
Cool. Anyway, I don't know. Is there anything else we need to talk about as far as the cinematic universe
we
goes?
really don't know what's coming. Other than, obviously, we know The Mandalorian is coming. We know Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker is
that still coming? Do we still? Are we sure?
Oh, yeah.
It is?
Yes. It's gonna be It's gonna be one of the launch things that we get with Disney Plus.
What is it?
Oh fuck.
The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not even about Boba Fett, right?
No. it's and here's the thing. From what we learned is Boba and Jango Fett are not actually Mandalorian.
Fuck.
Jango stole it from a Mandalorian that he killed.
Damn.
Is this going to be the Mandalorian that we see? Do we get that? So why do I?
But this person wearing Mandalorian armor is actually going to be Mandalorian.
It's like all those kids nowadays we see wearing Tupac and Biggie shirts, and they don't know who the fuck it's. Oh, dude, you know them? Like, no, dude, I just found it over there. That's what it's based on.
That's
dude, you're a Mandalorian. No, I just found it from that guy. I stole it from over there.
But no, this guy from what I've read and videos that I've watched online, he actually is a Mandalorian.
What is that?
It's a race. It's a race of people.
Are they like humans?
It's established.
Humans?
You've seen the Clone Wars cartoon, haven't you?
Some of it.
Okay. Well, the Mandalorian people are actually established. They're fleshed out in the cartoon.
Okay. All right. I believe you. I don't remember.
They're cool, Manuel. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
All right.
They're badasses.
Okay.
In real life, they're badasses like 10 times better than Jango Fett.
Damn. Damn.
And that's actually where we learn. It's from the Clone Wars cartoon that we learn that Jango Fett was not Mandalorian. He was just wearing stolen Mandalorian armor.
Because he thought it looked cool.
Yeah, essentially.
I relate.
Plus, Mandalorian armor has been known to be.
So was it like white people wearing dreadlocks? Is that on the level of what he did when he stole that armor, or?
It's more along the lines of either Elvis Presley coming into rock and roll or Eminem taking over rap.
Oh damn, damn. All right. Okay. So
Yeah,
that's,
no,
so that's
those along those lines of commandeering.
all right. All right. I don't know what else to say, dude.
White men steal everything.
I mean, true. Manifest destiny and all that, you know. Okay, so what else is there to
This
talk
is
about
coming from a white guy.
on this topic?
And like I said, other than that, we really don't know.
Yeah.
I was done when I stopped talking.
We could wildly speculate on this for like a lifetime. So
Yeah,
I think
just basically, here's the thing: it has the potential to do good for the franchise,
yeah,
but it also has the potential to completely destroy the franchise.
exactly. So be prepared for Star Wars Land to be either 2 times bigger in Disney or for it to be torn down entirely. So
I don't think it'll ever be torn down entirely because there'll still be people who are playing on the nostalgia of the original movies. So there will always be that connection.
I feel like they should get rid of everything but Star Tours because Star Tours is the only good ride there.
Actually, I'm hearing good things about the Millennium Falcon ride.
Fuck. I'm too poor to go there, so I don't know.
I'm hearing good things about the Millennium Falcon ride.
My thing about it is that you can't go any lower than it is now for me. So
Oh,
There's nowhere to go but up. I like it, Ted. I like it.
I mean, I'm hoping that's exactly what it is. You don't know how bad I'm hoping.
And if it does go bad, I'm probably not going to watch it. Someone else will pay for it, and they can get the money to make more stuff. So it'll all go around. People will go watch it.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to watch it. Somebody will enjoy it.
And I will watch it when it comes to Netflix. Just like
when it goes on Netflix.
Just like The Last
I'll
Jedi
drink
did.
and watch it.
You mean when Disney Plus fails and everything goes to Netflix?
No, Disney Plus won't fail. They'll say, "Hey, Netflix, you can keep The Last Jedi." There you go.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, because I mean, from what we understand though, when Disney Plus goes live, they're pulling everything from everywhere else,
Yeah.
and it's going exclusively to them.
There's some stuff that they have on contract still that's going to go for a
Yeah,
while.
sure, anything that's still on contract at the time, but
Yeah. But things are being pulled. Like
everything,
they
everything
ended.
new, and after those contracts are up, they'll get pulled.
Yeah. So Disney is a monster.
Yeah, they're buying fucking everything.
They're a rabid old god
Which-
with the power to create and destroy, and we just have to live in that world that they create.
If we actually were to go into the business aspects of it, isn't technically what Disney is trying to do illegal in the U.S.?
Monopolizing
Exactly,
things?
yes.
Well, so if you want to get depressed and learn about politics, monopolizing things isn't as illegal as you think it is. You can monopolize something legally, and the government will do nothing to stop you besides like, hey, since you're monopolizing things, you should pay us. Not the people, but you should pay us for letting you do this. And because you're, running a fucking monopoly, you could pay anything. You could pay any fucking number to do business. It's like what's the kid in the Boondocks? Riley? He's like, I don't do charity. I just pay the cost of doing business. That's him. All right, it's him. That's what they are. They'll pay whatever number. It don't matter. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, it's Disney's world, and we're just living in it. So.
And if we do find out when we do find out more news, of course we'll bring that to you guys. And until then, obviously we've got The Mandalorian. I think coming out later this year when Disney Plus launches.
When is that? Like November?
I think it's later in the year. Yeah, it's third quarter of the year sometime. It's either probably going to be October, November, maybe December even. About the same time that we get Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Is it Rise of the Skywalker?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
But yeah, so and of course we're anticipating that. We really have high hopes for Rise of the Skywalker. We want to see it redeem the franchise here before it ends the saga.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yeah.
I do. I don't know about you two.
I don't know. I'm just.
I don't think Ted cares anymore.
I'm just kind of tired of Star Wars now.
Yeah.
There's too much.
So apparently, I'm going to see it in theaters by myself.
Like
I mean, I'll go, man. Like if you buy
like
the
I
tickets
said,
again, I'll go watch anything.
It could only, like I said, it can only go up. I mean,
It can only go up.
We'll go after 7 o'clock next time, so you can hook me up with some Cold Stone.
Oh yeah, let's go. Well, I don't know if the hookup's gonna still be working there in a few months. She's going to college.
Oh.
Yeah, let me shout out to my sister, Alina, and her best friend with a rhyming name, like, because they're in, like, a sitcom, Melina, you know? I don't know. They're probably cartoon characters, I guess. I don't know. And I'm just, like, some stupid side character. But, you know, so that's
what you are in this show.
Yeah, I know, right? It's the role I was born
Kidding,
to play. Yeah, so, yeah.
You're our comic relief.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've told my sister I do this. But I don't know if she's actually asked like any specifics. I'm gonna send her a link because she said she looked at my Snapchat story when I post pictures of me saying I'm recording. So she definitely knows I'm doing something. I'm gonna send it to her and make her watch it.
I'm doing something.
I'm gonna send it to her and like, so is this your creepy ass ASMR or what?
Yeah, this is your ASMR channel you told me so much about. Shut up.
Okay. Yeah. As always, I'm Ted.
Star Wars sucks. And Game of Thrones does too.
Star
Good
Trek
night.
was always better.
As they say in Star Wars, live long and prosper.
So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can email us at nerdsmakesense@yahoo.com. Let us know what your hopes are for the Star Wars universe. And until the next one, we'll see you guys later.
Hasta.